Welcome back to MediaScience MYTH Busting. I'm your host, Philip Lomax, and I'm joined by Dr. Dwayne Varan. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the myth that interactive branded integrations don't work. So Dr. Varan, please provide us a bit of context.
Well, many moons ago, Bill Gates once made this comment that said, in the future, you'll be able to click on Jennifer Aniston's sweater and buy it. And that created a lot of excitement. A lot of people thought, wow, what a powerful idea. That's the future. That's the future of what interactive TV is going to all be about and stuff. So there was a lot of enthusiasm. And then people began trying it. And guess what? It was a horrible failure. It did not work at all. And that led to this myth. That led to people saying, well, it's just too much. It's just too in your face. It's just, people are not there to buy sweaters when they're watching television. So this is something that at all costs you should really try to avoid.
So have we done any early testing to try to find out if we were able to achieve this?
So 100%. In fact, in the early work that we did, we actually found a lot of evidence that supports the myth. The most dramatic was this study that we did where we tested 42 ad formats with viewers, and we asked them, how much they liked these different ad formats, and we showed them to them. And then we tested the same 42 ad formats with media buyers to see which ones they would like to most buy for their advertising clients. And I gotta tell you, interactive branded entertainment was the least popular idea out of those 42 ad formats with consumers.
Wow.
And it was also the least popular idea with the advertisers. So it was a clear lose-lose proposition. And even in some of the early testing that we did, we found similar things, that this really was not a viable model. But we have a real can-do spirit of enterprise at MediaScience. And so rather than just kind of throw in the towel and say, oh, well, that doesn't work, we saw this as a real challenge. And we said, what could we do to make it work? And so we began this exploration, if you will, in how to make interactive branded entertainment work.
So how were you able to solve for this?
So what we did is we realized that, yes, the interactive call to action was too shocking when you saw it in the program, kind of in isolation. But what we also discovered is that you could create a layer of interactivity throughout the entire program. So what we did is we created a trivia layer. This was strictly optional. You didn't have to activate it, but you could choose to activate it. Some of the trivia was about the characters, so other things that had happened to the characters in other episodes and things like that. Some of it was about the actors, but basically some of it might have been about the environments in which they were occurring. But there was this layer that was running that you could kind of participate in as you watch the show. And we picked different shows. Some of the shows, were shows that we thought would really lend themselves to this. So one of the shows we tested was The Apprentice, because of course they have these scenes where you actually have, teams working on ad campaigns, for example. So that would be a natural opportunity to have people purchase. But some of them were totally dramatic. We had Desperate Housewives. There was a scene, for example, where Gabby was showcasing a car in a trade show, and she's standing up there, and that was an opportunity for you to get information about the car and things like that. But again, what made the model work was the trivia layer, because within the trivia layer, you could then have the interactive branded integration. So in isolation, no. But with the added trivia layer, it would work. And let me show you some of the results that we found from the study that we did. So what we were interested here, and what this is not about the ad impact. Of course the ad was significantly higher, similar to what we see with other brand integration work, where the combination of the two makes it a lot more powerful. But what we saw here was, what effect did it have on the program? And we looked at a lot of things that were program-related measures associated with, did they like the program? Did they identify with the characters? Did they have empathy for the characters? And we saw absolutely no adverse effect once we added this trivia layer. And that was the case for both The Apprentice and for Desperate Housewives. So we solved for the problem. We found a way of effectively doing interactive branded integrations.
So in another way, it seems as if we need to provide the audience with a vehicle that allows them to first begin to choose to interact with their television. And then once they've made that choice in a fun, trivial manner, we can then propose to them the opportunity to then interact with objects and then potentially shop directly on their TV screen. So I think this brings a lot of excitement, especially in this new day and age within connected television.
Yeah, now there are possibilities for what we're calling today shoppable ads. But again, I think those are unlikely to succeed without this added layer of sophistication, of understanding kind of like what it really takes, which is to create a forum where the integration would be more natural. To do it in the TV show itself was too harsh. You had to create that layer to kind of like, make an environment where it would be appropriate to interact in that way.
So the myth that the myth that interactive branded integrations don't work. What say you, Dr. Varane?
Without the power of media science, that's probably true. But no, now with these insights, I have to say the myth is busted.
Well, join us again for our next episode. And until next time, I'm your host, Philip Lomax, joined by Dr. Dwayne Varane. And thank you, our audience.